Okay, so this is actually a second take of this video. This is a review of the brand new to the market Pace ADS200 AccuDrive soldering iron station with the TD200 handpiece. I did an unboxing of it, took all the tips out of the containers, went over a lot of the stuff with it, and then I ran into a problem. And I didn't want to do all that on camera. I thought, well, I'm just going to reshoot this. It'd just be easier than trying to do all this editing. So yeah, you don't get to see me cutting it out of the cardboard box. But like I said, it's brand new. It just released, just came on the market. Actually, it was my delivery date got put back because TE equipment, I guess, didn't get them in time. And I only got some of the tips because they have not. I think I ordered all the tips that are available for this. I got all the ones that they had, and then I think the rest of them are supposed to ship on like the 11th of this month. So, in several days, or next week, I guess, whatever, the rest of them will ship. But anyhow, I've run into some problems with this, and this is honestly, this is coming from a Pace fanboy. I am a die-hard Pace user. Been using Pace for years. I love my Pace, I have a Pace soldering iron in my hand pretty much 7 days a week. These are the two most used pieces I have from Pace: the solder extractor and a soldering iron. And I've got hot air hand pieces and tweezers and thermal wire strippers and conductive tweezers. You name it, I've got it. Love their stuff. Built like a tank, and lasts for decades under heavy use. I mean, I've got some units that are from the 1970s. I even gave one of those to Buddy, and it still works. But, so when they came out with this is supposed to be the newest, latest, and greatest. And kind of one of their things is, the selling point is the price. It's cheap. Now, I got this from T Equipment, and they had a special running. And it's the reason I got it from them. They had the lowest price, because they're running a special at like $219 something. But the biggest selling point for Pace about this is not only is the base unit, the handpiece and everything cheap, but the tips. They're cheaper than anybody else's tips. They're like $10, and you might as well say $11 to like $17, depending on which tips you get. And they have two different style tips. They have the standard tips, okay? So the body of the tip is a standard diameter, and then they have their ultra performance tips, which you can see it's thicker here. So it's basically just more copper in there. There's more thermal mass, which means that more thermal energy can be stored in the tip, ready for use instantly. You're not waiting for the heater to kick back in. But and this is technology that has just advanced over the years. We started out with old stuff, and actually this thing works great. I've been using God knows how many, probably hundreds of thousands of solder joints this soldering iron has done. But the heating element, the tip goes down into it. And there is a lag. This has temperature sensing, but Lord knows where it's at in here. It's not really close to the tip. And that's one thing they've been working on over the years, not just Pace, all these companies, is moving the tip, the temperature sensing closer to the actual tip. Because the closer they can get to it, the faster the reaction time is. Because these are closed loop systems. So it's continuously, through the handpiece, it's monitoring the temperature, and the instant it senses the temperature starting to go down, it can supply power to the handpiece to heat it back up. So it keeps the tip at a constant temperature, much better than the older style irons, where you would have a huge temperature drop. Sometimes if you're working on something, like this board down here, with a huge ground plane, the tip would get stuck to the soldering, or to the board, before the tip would heat back up. You don't have problems with stuff like this. But anyhow, so new system. It's a 120 watt system. Another reason I wanted to get this was new handpiece. Now, a lot of people may say, yeah, for starters, it doesn't have a strain relief. Pace has never had strain reliefs. The wire tie is just there for identification, so I know what channel this goes to. But yeah, Pace has never had strain reliefs on their soldering irons, or anything they have. And I have never once in my life ever had a cord problem. Very high quality cords. So yeah, don't worry about not having a strain relief. That's always been like that since Pace has been around. But the handpiece is made out of aluminum. It's not a plastic handpiece. It's a aluminum handpiece with a rubber overmold here. It feels fairly thin, if I push it with my thumbnail. But yeah, it's got a rubber overmold. But one of the selling points was that you can turn this thing on, leave it on all day long, and this handpiece will not get above 100 degrees. So one point something degrees higher than average human body temperature. And I've used this a lot here, especially after I discovered a problem. And yeah, it does. It stays cool. I mean, it's a really nice handpiece. I really like it. It's comfortable in the hand, blah, blah, blah. But the problem I ran into. Now, for starters, like I say, a lot of these tips are on back order because, I guess they kind of released it too early. They don't have all the products ready for sale. They're selling the base unit. I also wanted to get they've got another stand that's not released yet. It will have the sensor in here, so it knows when you put the handpiece into the holder. It's the APC or instant. I got to look at the back of the blasted unit. ISB, instant setback. I needed to see the lettering. So yeah, there's a socket on the back there that would connect to the stand that has that feature, and then when you put the handpiece into the holder, it will instantly turn the temperature back. And what that does is it saves your tip life because it's not sitting over here cooking to death. They didn't have that. It's going to be like a month, I guess, until that's available. So I had to get it with the normal base. This kit comes with the normal base stand, and then I'm going to have to buy that like a month or so from now whenever it gets released. But I figured that's fine. I'll just go ahead and get it, and then I'll get that later. And I ordered all of the tips that they have available. T&E only had, well, they didn't have any of them in stock, honestly. They got some of them in. Those are the ones that they shipped with the unit that arrived today. And over half of them won't ship out until like the 11th. But so I wanted to do, like I say, do some testing. So I had everything set up here to do some surface mount component soldering, and taking a bunch of parts off of this board. Was going to do some surface mount soldering to show some. Got this board out, the large ground plane, and that's where I ran into some serious issues. I picked this board because it is basically, this board is a ground plane. And like I say, man, I'm a Pace fanboy. I have never, ever in my life had a problem with Pace. They are an industry company. In other words, they're not a hobbyist-style company. Their equipment you'll find in manufacturing plants and major service industry. So, they build high-quality stuff. It's built in the USA, made in the USA. Another selling point for me. It's made in this country. Matter of fact, the company's just right down the road from me in Elk Ridge, Maryland. But, so I wanted to try to see what it's torture tested. I guess the easiest way to say it. So I had this board, and what my plan on doing was, it has these connectors, okay? Now, this is a torture test. I wanted to take this connector off using nothing but a soldering iron. I've done it before, because I've had to change this style connector before occasionally, this or regular SMAs or other ones, but the problem is how they're attached. You have the center conductor, but it has 4 legs around the outside, so the ground, okay? And you can see this whole top is just one huge ground plane. And if you look at the bottom side here, get it out of the board holder, you can see there's still, it's not as much, but there's still a lot of ground plane down here on this side. And I wanted to try and take that out, with just a soldering iron. Like I say, it can be done, but usually I would end up having to go get like an American Beauty, like a 200-watt soldering iron to do this. Normally, if I was doing this, what I would actually use, actually let me flip this around the other direction. What I would normally use would be this in here, hot air gun. What I would do is I'd stick this into a board preheater, heat the board, and then I'd just use a hot air gun to heat this up and to pull it out. Excuse me. I figured we'll try the soldering iron. Good torture test. Huge ground planes. Not only that, you're trying to melt solder on the bottom side of the board from the top. Lots of people do the solder pull test on a board, which is actually that's why there's some shiny spots here. That's where, from me messing around with this thing, especially to discover some of the problems I ran into. Because I was trying to get one out. I was like, man, this tip just not working right. So what they have are 2 standard tips. Like I say, there's the standard ones and there's the ultra performance. Now they only sent not paste, but T&E, because I purchased this. This is bought by me, not a paid review. It's not advertising for paste. I just wanted to show the nice shiny new fancy soldering iron station. But like I say, they have the ultra performance tips that have more mass in the end. So this should be the one you would want to use to remove something like that that's going to be sucking a lot of heat out of your iron. Well, something I discovered is this don't work that great. Even in the solder pull test, at first, yeah, it would melt the solder and then it would just solidify. It would just get almost stuck to the board. It's like, what's going on here? And then I tried the other ultra performance tip that I have, because I think I only got 2 of those. That's all that was available. This one, which the tip is like, a third the size of this one. This one had no problem. I put this on there, yeah, it'd make a nice pull of solder. Matter of fact, I removed the other this connector here with this tip, reinstalled it back into the board, and then used a standard tip. This is not the ultra performance tips. You can see the ultra performance one's bigger around, and this is the same tip size. Okay, same chisel. So what the heck? And then after that, I figured, well, now I see what the heck's going on here. I get to checking the other tips. These don't even work. And I was like, man, I've got serious problems. Like I say, I'm Pace fanboy, but ooh, we got some concerns here. So I'm going to email Pace, and I know Pace has a YouTube account, so maybe they can come and comment on this video what they think the problem is. Is it manufacturing? But there's something going on. So let's demonstrate it. So we want to turn. So obviously cold tip. Actually, let's start with the big fat tip, which should be the one that works the best. That's what it's meant for. Huge, doing large areas that require lots of heat, and there's lots of thermal drain on the tip because it's big ground planes. So I'll turn this on. Okay, I already have it set to 800 degrees. Okay, we'll come back down here to the board, and let's just do a little bit of playing around with a solder pull first. Now, when I did the initial part of this video, doing the review, I was showing how fast these, because all of these, it doesn't matter if Pace or any of these manufacturers, all of this style soldering iron, they heat up in just seconds. You turn it on, and I mean, before you can get your hand away from the on-off switch on the soldering station to go grab your solder, it's already hot enough to melt solder. They heat up extremely fast. So you can see smoke's pouring off of that one. And if we come down here, we can see it first. Oh yeah, it's melting solder just fine. Get some more here. But once I start to get a pull here, yeah, you see that? I'm pushing the solder, and yeah, you can see I'm pushing. It's not really melting. It's stuck. It's almost welded itself. It's like it drained and it just went. I don't know how else to put it. Look, it's not even melting anymore. What the? 800 degrees. What? What's going on down here, guys? Yeah, there's no soldering going on. There's absolutely nothing molten down there anymore. What the heck happened? Take that one out, and obviously it gets hot there. As soon as I took it off the board, it started to smoke again. It gets hot. I put this one in. Give it a couple seconds. It's hot. Come down to the board, do the solder pull again. We'll just leave it here. Now I've even added more solder, so there's more thermal mass there. But look at that. No problem whatsoever. It's not fusing, it's not sticking to the board. I can easily add more solder. No problems whatsoever. Yeah, that's what you would expect from a good high-quality soldering station. It's got lots of energy there, works really well. What the heck is up with that high-performance tip that's about as low performance as it comes? Yeah, I don't know. And if I take that one out, and we'll put in the other, like I say, this just happened to be all the T equipment had, because I guess the other ones are on order. They're waiting for them to come in. So this is the other high-performance tip. But like I say, this one is about a third the size of that one over there. And this one doesn't have any problems. This heats huge mounds of of solder very easily. You know, no problem whatsoever. Now, it's not going to be as efficient as the other one because there's just not as much tip area there, but it doesn't have any problem. It doesn't get stuck to the board for starters. You know, it keeps a pull there, and you know, if I work around, I can spread the pull out. You know, it just no problems. But like I say, the kicker is when I was trying to remove that tip basically just stuck to the board, and that's how I was like, what the heck is going on here? So, like I say, it does work. You know, this is not the ideal way to remove one of these connectors. I just picked it because I know this is a brutal test of a soldering iron. If you can remove that connector from a circuit board with nothing but a soldering iron, you've got some juice. You need some power, man, because you have to heat up the connector. You have to heat up this massive ground plane, or which basically it's just a continuous ground plane on this side of the board. This big mountain mold blob of solder that I've stuck on here. In addition to, you have to melt the solder on the opposite side of the circuit board. So you have to heat that connector up hot enough that the heat can transfer through to the bottom of the board. And it's rocking back and forth. It's almost there. Yeah, bam, came out. You know, something you couldn't do with a normal soldering iron. I can't do that with the bigger tip. But here, it gets even worse. It's bad enough that tip just doesn't work very well. I'll take this tip out, which obviously was working. We were just using it. And now I'll grab another one of these brand new tips, okay? Brand new out of the package. It just came out of, I just minutes ago, before I started this video, had finished, well, not minutes, because I actually played around till I found all these problems, but they just came out of the tubes, okay? I stick it in the handpiece. It still says CHP. Check handpiece. That's what CHP stands for. Anytime you remove the tip, it says CHP to let you know there's a tip problem. There's check the handpiece because there's a problem. Yeah, it's not. Doesn't matter how hard I push it in. It doesn't. It's not working. It's brand new. It's never been used. I'll set this one over here, and I'll grab the other brand new one. Never been used. Plug it in. Nothing. There. I'll grab it with my hand. You can see there's nothing happening. It's dead. Two. What are the odds of me getting two? I understand manufacturing. Shit can happen. Pardon my French. It can. There's always a lemon. No matter how good a company is, anybody can make a lemon occasionally. What are the odds I'd get 3 lemons? 2 of them that just don't work at all, and 1 of them that just it can't heat up as well as tips a third its size. Or, even in the same category, the ultra performance tip, that's the big kicker. This is supposed to be the ultra performing tip. Yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on here, man. So, I can't give it a bad review. I like the iron. I like the tips. It works really. The tips that do work really well. My concern is, what's up with that? And I guess even more so my concern, what's the life expectancy on these things? Now, I love paste. Like I say, fanboy. Their tip life is one thing I've always loved. Their tips just seem to last forever. I do tens of thousands of solder joints for the paste tip. And a lot of times using RA, activated flux, or sometimes soldering to a steel chassis, I'm using acid flux. And the tips still last. That's the worst thing you can do to an iron tip is use those really aggressive fluxes. And they hold up really well. But, these don't even work. This one's not working good out of the... It works, but just it's like half performance out of the pack. Am I going to have problems with these? I don't know. Do you need to... Maybe they need to check just the design, manufacturing, and the heating elements they're using in these. I can't say I've ever really heard anybody complaining about previous soldering stations, with the more modern handpieces. These direct drive style heaters, the WJS, they've had lots of other versions of like this style unit they've had over the years. I can't say I've ever heard anybody complain about having problems with them. What happened? Were you guys rushing to get these things to market and I don't know. So, yeah. Would I recommend the unit? Yes. The base unit, it's built like a tank, like everything Pace has ever made. Big, heavy-duty, extruded, power case to it, extruded aluminum case. It's flat. You can stack these things. That's very important for me, is being able to go, skyscraper-wise with my equipment, because space is very valuable. The stand, it's the standard stand Pace has been using for years, just a different front on it. They're great stands. I love them. It's got the brass wool and the sponge. I love the handpiece. I love the feel. It's just a nice handpiece. It's just tips. Some don't work. One's and that just makes me wonder, am I going to have problems with all these other ones? They're cheap. They are cheap. Comparatively to other manufacturers, like I say, it's like $10 and some odd cents, but it comes out to, let's just say, between $11 to $17 a piece. I think there's like 3 categories. There's like 10 something, 11 or $12 and something, and then like $12 and something, or no, 16. I think it's like $16. But let's just say the $11, like $13 and $17 range, if you were to especially add tax range, they're cheap. But yeah, I would have still, even though they're cheap, I would expect them to work. Like I say, what's wrong? Pace, leave a comment below, shoot me an email. I get a response. I'll be happy to pin your comment below if need be to the top of the the comments section. But yeah, I like it. I mean, I like the tips that are working here. It's just these 3, they really got me concerned. What what I get myself into? I mean, is there just a flaw in your design? You're going to have to redesign these tips? I'm sure you will. Like I say, Pace has been around forever. They're known for making the ultra premium equipment. I just got concerns, man. There's something going on here. So as soon as I get done with this video, I'm going to slide over and shoot them an email. I'm going to upload this video. I don't want to hide anything from the public. I want to be fair and honest. And even as much of a fanboy as I am, I'm slightly disappointed. I like it. I like it. I like it. Serious concerns.